So from the Goonies, I learned to embrace a spirit of adventure. I learned that burning curiosity is often rewarded, and I learned that deep reverence could shape your views and mark your destiny. Of course, here I'm referring to One-Eyed Willie. Not your archetypal messianic figure, but he did set some pretty cool booty traps. Did I say booby traps? No, I said booty traps. If you haven't seen the movie, that might sound a little creepy, but for those of you who have seen it, you know that when it's debated about by 12-year-olds on a treacherous mission to find pirates' gold, that, you know, we thought it was pretty funny at the time. We'll leave Goonies there for a minute. Rudy. This is Rudy. Why not? Perhaps it's the most obvious. From Rudy I learned or relearned something that I've known to be true, and that it for my whole life, and that is that true grit and determination are qualities that will be your deliverance in everything that you do throughout your life. In the theater, in art, in philosophy, in really everything deeply embedded in the American story is the issue of class. The working class, the underclass, the privileged class, the talking head class, no class, as the case may be, the entitled class, the poverty class, the literate class, and on and on. The amazing and surreal journey that Rudy takes in the movie captures in a deeply emotional way how grit and determination can be the great equalizer of these differences. The movie also celebrates the value of a good education. Another Rudy takeaway life lesson that I learned and often forget is that it's critical for each of us to have a very real and very true sense of ourself. It is vital that we do not allow ourselves to accept the limitations and labels that others might place on us. Rudy is an example of how even with a serious learning disability, we can crawl out from under others' low expectations of us. We can throw off the judgment and bare-knuckle fight our way to an identity that feels right for us. We can carve out a personality that suits us, and we can manage our way toward the elusive region of happiness that our founding documents suggest may be out there. All of this when we cultivate a sense of ourselves. And then there's Lord of the Rings. Now, the movies are so great that all you have to do is say it. Everyone cheers. Like we're on 4 now. 4 times. Wait, maybe 6 if you include those things. That just the name has elicited this great reaction. So, you know, Lord of the Rings. That probably won't ever go away, right? I don't know if you feel like that. That's something. I learned that. It would obviously be impossible for me to, lay out for the reasons I said earlier, and obvious, to explicate what I've learned entirely and continue to learn from having portrayed a hobbit named Sam. Yeah! Sam rocks! Phew! Didn't blow that one. So, what was I going to say? I wrote all this stuff thinking about you guys. I actually think that I was more suited to play Sam then than I am now. While I received a formal education and had traveled around the world and was married with a child and had worked professionally for 20 years, in a very real way, I had I had it for good and for, a simplistic worldview. Perhaps an idealistic, an enviable worldview. I knew from reading literature that the best writers and philosophers, one of my very favorite was Candide by Voltaire, maybe Dr. Pangloss fans out there. There's got to be some literature majors out there. I'm just praying that you... In history? Yeah! engineering, but I hope you're here too. What the heck? The literary greats resolve themselves after much anxiety and questing, often, to the basic premise that happiness is synonymous with home, and that cultivating your own garden can be the greatest approach to living a moral life. I knew from the first sentence of Tolkien's book what he meant. I knew that the gardener, as an idea, as a vocation, as a practical observer of history, when all the kings are doing stuff in the castle, somebody's taking care of the land. The gardener as a mood, if that makes sense, or a tone, if you think of it in terms of music, resonated in the most comfortable and confident place in my spirit. Playing that part gave me permission to slow down the manic way that I was approaching life and to be the person or the hobbit that I knew I was right to be. Then that whole cultural media thing hit after the movie, and I could barely track the essence of Sam for the next 6 or 7 years for that. Of course, Sam has Rosie and I have Christine. Sam likes ale, and I like ale. We can learn lots of things. But the culmination of our analysis here of the 3 pictures and how one might muse on things that one might take from them, the hobbit named Sam is all about loyalty and bravery and courage and decency and goodness and friendship. These qualities are simultaneously self-explanatory and necessarily examined, and why. Everything I've said so far is pleasing and irrefutable in the abstract, but life is complicated, and trying to apply some of these concepts, for lack of a better word, is tricky at best and often very remote. If you're anything like me, then you likely feel that these qualities are innate or best revealed through people's actions in life. To hear these lofty values espoused in our philosophy and history and literature and many other classes all goes into our storage bank of beliefs and opinions and judgments, for better or for worse. What I advocate is the active consideration of those ideas: goodness, decency, loyalty, bravery, courage, and their practical application in our lives. I say consideration, but more specifically I mean reflection and planning simultaneously, as a good 2-minute drill before you choose, what you're going to do on Saturday morning, for example. It isn't always easy and it isn't always fun, but what I've learned from Sam is that from an ideal literary character we can see what is possible. I've been asked often and quite seriously from powerful people, if I'm like Sam. There's almost a hypnotic quality to waiting for the answer, because no answer is good enough. If I say, yeah, well, I'd clearly be lying. And that would invite intense critical examination into my personal life and mistakes and foibles, after which the person would feel some fleeting sense of loss or disappointment. Not at me, but as further confirmation that the ideal of Sam is fictitious and unattainable in this mortal realm. As I've always answered, no, I'm not as good or as loyal or as decent or as brave as Sam. I can see the look in people's eyes. Thought so. Again, not specific to me. So what can I do going forward to reconcile these competing realities? Well, I can challenge myself to evaluate if I am being as good or loyal or decent or brave. And then I can move forward. I suppose I can do what I've always done. I can do something that's given me incredible satisfaction in life. I can lead. It sounds pompous and self-important, but I don't care. There's nothing quite like leading people in some endeavor or other that has merit. Coaching, teaching, parenting, directing. In my life, I've been an outspoken activist.